Good afternoon, welcome to this Marks Reviews and Tutorials video. We're working on the accidental one again. One of the things that had happened to this car, have a look up here if you want to see the story. We bought this at auction, quite accidentally, but anyway, one of the things that had happened to this car is that somebody, have a look at that milkshake in there. Somebody has put oil in there. When they've wanted to top up the car engine oil, they've put it into the washer bottle instead. So we are now tasked with having to get all of that out and wash everything out, get all of the oil out. The motors are not running anymore because they're all clogged. So we've got to wash this out. And the bottle on a 1 Series BMW is actually down under here, under the front guard. And so it's a matter of getting the wheel off and then the wheel liner off. That's just some 8mm bolts, some 10mm bolts. That's not hard. Access it, get it out, pull all the bits out, give it all a clean. Now this does happen that these guys get blocked. So I'll give you a very quick rundown as to how to get it done. All right, so to start off with, to get the wheel off, we're going to jack it up. Now, being a 1 Series, 3 Series BMW, whatever you're working on, they're low. Have a look, this is a low profile jack. And I've got on here a little jack point that fits BMW. I'll put a link in the description through to these guys. They're really handy. If you jack up just with your standard metal ring, that's going to damage that jack point. You can see it damages these anyway. So we put that on and then jack the car up into the little square jack point there that's on the BMW. Works a treat. I'll put a link through to the jack and those special little guys in the description. Okay, so wheels off, and now we're in here to this inner liner. And yeah, there's some 8mm little bolts. We're going to grab the drill. A Ryobi drill is just amazing for this sort of thing. Make sure you get one with a clutch. You can put just a little 8mm socket on and just zip these out super quick. There's some 10mm down the bottom, 8mm at the top. We'll have this out. Okay, so the inner liner has got a break in it here. This is the front of the car. Got some 8mm bolts here, here, and here across the front. And then down underneath, we've actually got a couple of 10mm bolts. They are there and across the other side there. And then here we've also got 3 rivets. They're going to have to be pushed out. You just push the center of these through and then pop them out. We may or may not be able to reuse these ones. Anyway, we'll get that centerpiece out and that'll... So to knock these little rivet centers out here, I just start with just a roofing screw. It's got a good point. They can be a little bit tight to start with, but once they're started, I think you've got a rivet. It could be a nail, it could be anything, but just something small enough that it can press that center through like that. Then we'll get a screwdriver and we'll lever these 3 out. Just a screwdriver head under, they easily came up. And then a pair of pointy nose pliers. Look at that, they come straight. So the wheel liner's out. I had to do a bit of a degrease down under here, under mine, because when they've tried to flush out the bottle, it's all come all down here, and this was all grease, or oil, sorry, and the same all down the inside here. They'd sprayed the bottle, oil had obviously gone up on the windscreen, and had come down. You can see the oil fingerprints around the car. They've obviously had a really bad time. Anyway, there was oil everywhere, so we've just given it all a good degrease, cleaned it down, pull this clip out here, we'll just lever this back, pull the hose back. There's an O-ring seal here, and then we'll get these wires out of the way, 10mm bolt here again, and we'll pull that reservoir forward. Oh my gosh, what a mess. Unplugging that, which you have to do to get the reservoir out. There's spilled all the oil and garbage out of it, unfortunately. There is a tip for getting this forward. As you start to slide it forward, it'll only come a little bit, and then the bottle actually goes right up around the top of the arch here, and then it bangs into this lower part here. So you got to pull that lower inner guard down so that this can slide forward onto it. Then we'll be able to get in and unplug the 2 motors. There's a rear and a front motor here, and pull all this out and clean it all up. Yours, thank goodness, won't be full of oil and spilling garbage everywhere. There is, of course, a trick to getting these wires off. You see this, you've got where your wires go in here, then this little bit here, see that's moving? That's actually opening the little clip. You see that's holding that plug on. So push it back at the top, that unclips it, take it off. Same with that one, back at the top, and then she'll come off. And then we'll take these 2 washer lines off, and they've also got little bits where they stick into the tank to source their water from. This is where they go to, so probably these will be blocked as well. So you're gonna have to clean all of this out. This is still being a pain to get out. I've got it so far forward, but it appears there's a loom wire just there that you can see. I'm just going to pop that off because that appears to be holding it. And there's also the level sensor here. Can't quite get to that yet, but we can just screw that to the side and pop it down. It turns 90 degrees, but we're going to pop that little rubber because that's what appears to be holding everything up at the moment. The brake caliper is very much getting in the way, so we've pulled all that forward. Now it's coming. Here we go. It's going to come out. We just got to disconnect this sensor plug here, and we'll have him out. So believe it or not, we are going to have to undo this, and you're going to do it first. Just needs to be slid forward. It's on a spring clip here at the front. So I just used a panel removal tool. It slips under the front there and then comes out like that. And that is where that plug goes back into. It's actually this top one attached onto the top of the tank. How clever is that? And that's the one that goes into your repeater indicator. All right, so then it's just a matter of bringing it out, hosing it all out, be it slime or algae or soap clogged up, whatever you got. Using your big hole here, definitely take the motors out using these two big holes. Just rinse the whole thing out. I had oil in here, so I had to put some degreaser in as well, just to get him all clean. So anyway, this is now pristine. All the muck is out of it. Come back here. I'll hit this with degreaser again to clean all this down. It'd be so nice to have the oil finally dealt with, and then have to clean the supply tube. These tubes as well coming out of the motor that run up to the windscreen here. I've got one off already, so we're going to blow those down to clear them out as well. Okay, I've pulled off all of these. You've got little rubber grommets. These simply slide off and on. You can get your tube out. Here there's little T-pieces. Just get a screwdriver to get them started, then they'll flex out. Same here, these will flex out. I've pulled all these out. I sprayed degreaser through mine because they've had oil running in them. Cleaned out all the tubes along the top. I've also then run water from this tube where you pull it out. This goes to both, there's a T, and run first degreaser and then water down this tube just to make sure that it's clear. This is the rear one, that's a little bit further. Next step, I'm going to plug in both the motors. They worked very well. When I had them out of here, I put them back in now. You just put the little rubber piece in first and then slip the motor in and clip it in place. Spraying the degreaser into here, it came out through the bottom, so I was able to get all of the oil out of both the motors, so they're both clean, ready to go back in. We'll put the tubes back in, we'll put the wires back on. So looking good. All right, so we're putting all this back together now. One of the things to notice, that loom I pointed out on the back corner of the bottle, you need to make sure when you come up over the back corner of the bottle, actually bring it forward, because you'll see there's a little clip here and the back bar of it's back there. So don't have it out the back corner, have it there, then you can grab it up and over the top of the bottle. That's for that repeater blinker. And here, put it in. Since I got all the leaves out, there's just a huge amount of leaves and garbage in mine that was jamming it all up, making it tight. It's actually coming in easy. You do have to turn the wheel to get it in and out. Now it just drops forward, pokes out past this edge here and comes out. Absolutely no worries at all. So it's easier to come in and out. Make sure this is clipped back on, sealed. If the bolt lines up and sits flush, that's the thing you're checking, then you know it's sitting where it needs to be and everything's good. So that's back. We're now going to put the liner back, which is going to hold this back in place. So the inner guard goes back in nice and simple. The best place to start is right here with these threads sticking out, because you can line those up. You see, they're all sitting nicely in place there, ready for the nuts. I won't do them up super tight, but we'll get those three. You poke that one in behind, and those two go in there, and then we're going to poke this in behind the guard here. You can see it gets poked in behind. That'll get it in position, and then you just hold it up and do up the other screws. There's one up there, and the ones around the top should all go in nice and straightforward. But these little pins can be resurrected and saved as long as you kept the little centerpiece that came out of them. You can see I've got one back in there. What we do, we just push this back to where it needs to be, lined up on the hole, and then we put the pin in through the metal hole and the plastic hole. Then what I do is just get a pair of pliers and hold that in place where it needs to be, like that. I'm going to need a hand hold the camera, but then put the pin in and tap it through, and it'll come up nice and tight and hold it in place like that.